Hola. Okay, so Hamlet's desire to destroy the thing, the being that has dismantled his sense of right and wrong, right, is so great that he imposes himself and his violence upon his mother and her space, hoping just about, right, that he's killed the king. When it turns out to be Polonius, he's annoyed, right? He's like, what is this irritating junk, right? It should have been somebody else. And he says um, that he took him for thy better, right? Looks behind the arras and sees Polonius, thou wretched, rash, intruding fool, farewell. Right, now keeping in mind this is Ophelia's father, right? In the to be or not to be speech, he says, where is thy father? And it's like, at home, right? And that, is that a lie? Is that something he believes because he doesn't know they're, again, concealed? There is a pattern of Polonius just being in places where Hamlet is not really either expecting him or desiring him. But the... Sorry, my eccentricity outs itself on camera, doesn't it? Well, whatever. But the sense that what he could not do in the to be or not to be speech to the men, right, he manages to do to Ophelia, right, by shoving her into the proverbial nunnery, right, telling her to get out, get out, get out. I don't love you. Leave now. And you made up hoochie mama. Right? I mean, going from there to managing to pretty much kill the daddy of that hoochie mama girlfriend, ex-girlfriend, however we want to determine the relationship's history. Here he manages to kill the producer of Ophelia, right? But there is no regret, no horror, no shock, not even a pause, right? He's like, farewell, you fool. And he goes on to say, I took thee for thy better, take thy fortune. It's almost like he has come upon this, that Hamlet has done nothing that was untoward, right? That this is what was in store for Polonius for being who he is, right? And he Hamlet notably says that he took Polonius for thy better, and thy better is, of course, the king, right? Claudius. He imagined the person he was stabbing is Claudius, and of course we already know that he didn't want to stab Claudius while he's at prayer. Instead, he wanted to kill Claudius in possibly the lascivious throes of sexual desire. And one can only guess that he wants to do that while Claudius is having sex with Hamlet's mom. So there is this really insistent desire on invading his mother's personal space, right? He wants to be there and kind of punish his mother just as much as, perhaps even more so than, he wants to punish Claudius himself. So, and of course, very often a psychoanalytic reading of the play tends toward presenting Hamlet's desire for his mother, or desire for subjugating his mother, schooling his mother, reclaiming his mother, as the primary goal, right? And that killing the king, killing the kings is a perhaps desirable side effect, right? There's something that must be done in order to get to the mother. Typical psychoanalytic reading, wonderful, productive, But I think I would like to focus on spaces in the context of Hamlet, right? Specifically because in the to be or not to be speech, the afterlife and the space that the body inhabits after death becomes a crucial motivator to stay alive, right? Like that not knowing what that space is the reason one would withstand all the crap that human existence on Earth has to offer. Similarly, in the gravedigger's scene, he before literally jumping into the grave, before recognizing this is Ophelia's grave and so on, he is wrapped with a sort of grim fascination, if you will, over the location of the human body, right? And the sort of earthly egalitarianism that death brings to all locations and all bodies, right? So location becomes a very big part of Hamlet's interiority, right? The pondering of the location of being and human being. And I think it is deeply unfair to other characters when we ignore their location and how Hamlet is responsible for the destruction of and violation of their location and their body's location. It's unfair to those characters, specifically because we prioritize Hamlet's contemplation of a sort of post-mortem location, right? So that's why I'm insisting on on these lectures focusing on the location of female bodies and Hamlet violating these female spaces and locations. So Polonius, not even a mistake, just an irritation, dead, farewell. But then he says, his mom is obviously so stressed out, she's wringing her hands, and he says to his mother, "Leave wringing of your hands, please sit you down, and let me wring your heart, for so I shall, if it be made of penetrable stuff. If damned custom have not raised it so that it be proof and bulwark against sense." Right? So again, this violence as common sense, right? He needs to violate his mother in order to reclaim her to a sort of humane behavior and practice. In Hamlet's imagination and in his perception, the only form his pedagogy can take, right, specifically when it comes to his mom and his lover, hitherto lover, is a violence, right? The only form it can take is violence, and that does not seem at all to be a disruption to him, right? He does not think of this as a sacrifice even that he's making. He's like, let me do this. Someone has to, and I'm going to do it. So there is this sense in which invading the female space, invading the female body, invading the female imagination is all part of what comprises common sense to Hamlet. So there is no regret, no remorse, no hesitation, right, on account of what he is doing. The hesitation he feels is when it comes to invading male and masculinely determined spaces, including Claudius's, right, the arch villain in a manner of speaking, right? So when he does sit his mother down again, to talk with her. He promises now to wring her heart if, some such possibility exists that she will claim her humanity once again, right? And become sensible once again. So she's clearly not sure what he's talking about. What have I done that thou darest wag thy tongue in noise so rude against me? So she still is not, she's refusing guilt, right? I mean, Hamlet really wants his women to be guilty. He wants to position them in a manner of perpetual repentance, in a place of perpetual repentance, in an environment where they are perpetually apologetic, right? I mean, think about this as we think of everyday patriarchal behaviors and how the women who have been trained and disciplined to operate within patriarchy among patriarchal subjects, male and female, use apology, right? Exhibit signs of guilt and regret and remorse and sorriness. So female students, female speakers tend to be deferential, tend to be apologetic for having an opinion, tend especially to be coy or apologetic when what they are about to articulate may be in opposition to what somebody else has articulated, if that somebody else is a person of power or authority especially, right? But in general, so what that lineage, right, of the apologetic female subject, it's a long lineage, right? It comes from a long line of females that have trained themselves or have been trained by Hamlet-like figures to be guilt-ridden. Gertrude is not that woman, though. She is still pissed at her son, and she's like, what the hell are you talking about, right? I mean, how dare you speak this way? To which Hamlet then goes right into the meat of the matter and says, such an act that blurs the grace and blush of modesty. And again, what are the things that he's not saying, regicide, mother, you killed the divinely anointed. He's not saying any such thing. He's talking modesty and blushing and, again, the feminized form in which he wants his mother to be is shockingly absent, according to him. And he's trying to shock it back into being. So he says, such an act that blurs the grace and blush of modesty, calls virtue hypocrite, takes off the rose from the fair forehead of an innocent love and sets a blister there, makes marriage vows as false as dicers' oaths. Oh, such a deed, as from the body of contraction plucks the very soul, and sweet religion makes a rhapsody of words. Heaven's face does glow o'er this solidity and compound mass, with heated visage, as against the doom, is thoughtsick at the act. And me, what act that roars so loud and thunders in the index? He has still not told her the literal deed, right? He's not said murder, mother, murder. More importantly, murder of my father. Alongside that, and perhaps more importantly, incest, right? He has not said any of this, but the allusions, all the repetition of phrases, of sexually charged words, right? But also, these are repetitions that allude to, if not literally, come from the to be or not to be speech. I mean, so think of coward and hypocrite kind of come together. Conscience becomes a coward. Out here, virtue is made a hypocrite. Blurring the grace and blush of modesty takes off the rose. So think to be or not to be speech and the nunnery speech, right? In one fell swoop, they are kind of crushed into this passage or this set of lines where Um,